The year was 1776, and the idea of independence had been growing for a long time. Fed up with British rule, the colonists wanted to have a voice in their own affairs. Several events led to the call for independence, but the first major instance of discontent began with the passage of the Stamp Act in 1765. This act required colonists to pay a tax on all paper goods, including legal documents. This was the first time that a direct tax had been put on American goods. The colonists were not happy, and they made their discontent known. The Stamp Act was repealed, and the colonists were temporarily appeased. This, however, would be short-lived. Determined to collect revenues from the colonists, the British Parliament passed the Townshend Acts in 1767. The Townshend Acts placed a tax on imported items that came into the colonies. These items included glass, lead, and tea. One of the major towns affected was Boston because many ships used the Boston harbor. The colonists were once again infuriated. Tensions grew between the colonists and the British troops who were sent to enforce the Townshend Acts. These confrontations escalated on March 5, 1770. British soldiers shot and killed 5 colonists in an event known as the Boston Massacre. The Townshend Acts were eventually repealed, but once again, a new tax was instituted, this time on tea. To express their anger, colonists dumped over 300 chests of very expensive tea into Boston Harbor. This event is infamously known as the Boston Tea Party. After years of being overtaxed and unrepresented, 12 of the 13 colonies decided to come together for a common purpose: to break free from England. Georgia was the only colony that did not send a delegate. Representatives from the colonies would meet during the First and Second Continental Congress to discuss their options for dealing with Britain. Fighting between the colonists and the British had already begun, and it was time to formally declare independence. In June of 1776, a group of 5 men were called upon to draft a Declaration of Independence from England. Among the authors were Ben Franklin, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson, who was known to be an eloquent speaker and a strong voice for independence, was the biggest contributor. The document had 5 sections: the introduction, the preamble, the body, which includes the indictment of King George III and the denunciation of the British people, and the conclusion. The introduction establishes that it is the law of nature that allows a people to be independent and says that people must state their grievances before demanding independence. The preamble gives an overview of the colony's philosophy and contains the most notable quote: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." These words would go on to be the foundation for American government and values. The body of the Declaration of Independence lists the grievances against the head of the British government, King George III, stating items like, he has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, and for depriving us in many cases of the benefit of trial by jury. In the conclusion, the Declaration of Independence states that the British government has not met the conditions required to create a new government, and the states are free states and able to do all things that an independent country can do. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was finalized in Philadelphia at Independence Hall. It was signed by 56 men representing the 12 colonies. With their signatures affixed to the Declaration of Independence, the colonists distributed the document to the world, declaring themselves a free nation. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.